All right, welcome back, everyone, to sadly the final episode of this season of the Fantasy Variation. Our first episode recording in 2025. Colin's here as always. I'm happy to have him, but special guest tonight. We got the championship winner of the Shovel Mitch League, Barrett, in the house tonight. So, Barrett, how are you doing? And if you want to, you can just get right into your matchup. I think against Cole in the semifinals.
I'm doing great tonight. Happy to be a champion for the first time. So getting in the matchup with Cole, it was pretty tight, honestly. Honestly, really all I think it came down to was simply the Jonathan Taylor and Nico Collins trade that we made the last week. I think it was the last week of the trade deadline where Nico ended up putting 13 up on the board and Jonathan Taylor popped off for like 40 pretty much. And like that saved the whole entire season. I was only won by 5 points, I believe. Yeah, 5 points on here. And like everyone else did their part. Jasicki only had 3 points, so that was kind of a bummer. But like also Houston D putting up 0 also almost could have hurt me. But again, like I said, Jonathan Taylor pretty much carried the day along with Lamar. He saved the season there. And like Cole's team put up like a valiant effort. Like I think he was still the second highest scorer of the semifinals week. But like just team came up a little bit short at the end of the day. And like it's tough to see being like 13-1 in the regular season and then going to that. But it was definitely tough. And then seeing also have to talk about Elgin's game along with Riley because that was I thought Elgin had it locked in the bag. I thought he was going to the championship. And then that just the defense. And yeah, that was insane to see that ending there with Riley with having Green Bay's defense. And then going to the championship, I honestly felt pretty confident seeing like Riley's team. I thought the way my team's been playing and the way that Lab was getting the ball pretty much guaranteed a touchdown every week since like the last couple of weeks once the playoffs started and like the last couple of weeks of the regular season as well. And like he was been dynamite. And if Jonathan Taylor kept playing the way he did, and Lamar did his thing, I wasn't too worried at all. And like luckily it was like the weird week where it was, I think it was, no, it wasn't the Christmas week. I forget when it was, but this was the week where they had a bunch of weird schedules or weird games were all over the place pretty much. And like Lamar played first earlier in the week, I think, and like he dropped 30. So like that was easy to get on the board right away. Lad put up 30 as well, pretty much. And like right off the bat, put up 60 with those two. I already felt super, super confident. And then a lot of Riley's players in the 1 o'clock slate, he had a bunch playing. A lot of them, like, no offense to him, just laid some duds with like Devontae Adams only putting up 9. And then Garrett Wilson somehow, even with the like terrible fumble that he had that week, ended up still getting a touchdown and still put up a touchdown and 17 points that week. And Jonathan Taylor again did his thing and put up 30. And after that, like it was pretty much sold where I knew I was going to win. And so it was a great performance by the team, and putting up 163 overall was nice to finish off with a big number 2 in the championship and get my first ring on the board.
Congratulations, and way to rub it into Riley. I would not have been able to live with myself if Riley won it. So you beat him by like almost 40. So that was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to call it. So you mentioned it. I totally forgot. Like in the semifinals, you traded JT for Nico. Dude, that literally won it. That won it. If you guys didn't make that trade, you would have lost. That's pretty crazy. So great trade there.
It ended up, like I said, even in the final against Riley, he had put up 32, and like that helped me also again get the win. So like totally, he ended up being a playoff like king. So it all kind of like came down to getting touchdowns at the end for him because he was putting up yards all season, but like the numbers were just like 15 to 20 points a game or less sometimes, and like so he was ready to pop off. So I'm happy it happened with a good time.
That's pretty much the only good thing that the Colts did this year is JT had a good playoff run. So.
Heck yeah. And I think that was one of the things I called out when all you guys were on, Bear, was that I really liked that trade for you, even though we hadn't seen like the big numbers from Jonathan Taylor. Like I just pulled it up. I don't know what week it was where he traded for him, but he had a 6-week stretch where he had single digits 3 times and a max score of 18. So he was really struggling, but then he definitely flipped the corner once we got to playoff time, which was definitely good for you. He had almost 40 points, and then Nico Collins on the other side only with 13. So yeah, that trade definitely won it for you, as Colin said. And then I think one other thing to highlight just from Cole's team is just I feel like they really underperformed in this matchup. I mean, Alvin Kamara was out, so that was obviously tough to start with for him. Not like he doesn't have a plethora of good players to plug in behind him, like Tyrone Tracy and Zay Flowers did their jobs. But, I mean, Joe Mixon with 8, And then Puka and Nico Collins both with 13. Like, that's just not really going to get the job done in the playoffs, especially playing against your team who had been playing super well and has a 40-point scorer on the team. So that was super tough to see for Ron. I know he was bringing up how heartbreaking it would be to win 13 games and then go down 1 and out, but sadly, that's what we saw. We'll see if we have a team in the future get up to 13 wins and see if they can maybe capitalize on the bye and the 1 seed a little more than we saw.
I do want to say one thing too before we move on to anything else. Feel bad again for Elgin with more heartbreak for him because like if he would have won that game, his team, even without playing a defense, outscored me in the final by like a point, 1.10, something like that. So like he would have ended up beating me if he would have advanced. And so like that's just tough for him, along with all the dropping the players fiasco and on top of it. So like a rough end of the season for him.
I'm not gonna say Elgin deserved it. I mean Riley's team did well, but oh my God, that game, I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast. Riley, he's on a cruise. He's drunk. He's not watching the last game. I forget what game it was. It was Green Bay against New Orleans. He thought he won the game, and he's calling me, he's FaceTiming me, flipping me off, doing all this nonsense. And I'm like, dude, the game is at halftime. Like, it's not over. And he's like, oh my God. And then he quickly hung up after that. But I think he was texting Elgin and sending him all this stuff. So he was having a good time. And I was like, dude, you are absolutely gonna lose this game now that you did all that, but did sneak out the win. So we'll no, I'm not gonna congratulate Riley on getting second place.
Dude, that's crazy. He didn't get like the king has been crowned moment himself against Elgin. I thought it was going to be a repeat of history with Zach claiming that he had won before it was over, but apparently not. And yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, Barrett. Like you talked about it a little bit, I think, with the defenses, how Riley's defense, the Packers had 15 and the last game of the week, and then Elgin's had -2 when he had the Bengals on the bench, which, I mean, he could have just not played a defense and he would have won this game. So that's super brutal. And on top of that, I saw Brian Robinson had 2 fumbles. So if he only has 1, he wins that game. And then Josh Allen also with 11 after scoring like 90 combined points in his 2 games prior. So yeah, brutal out for Elgin there. I wish I got that version of Josh Allen when he played me, but oh well, on to the next year. Congrats, Elgin, still on a good season. He put together a really good team, and man, just that one defensive decision, man, it always sucks looking back on stuff like that. You try not to do it, but man, it was definitely a super good team you put together. But congrats to you for making the right start sits and getting it done at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the club. Big congrats.
Hell yeah.
It's been nice. I'll have to buy myself a little like fake ring to wear now.
There we go. I like it. All right. Well, I guess is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about just like overall this season or anything? Fantasy season or anything?
I think maybe I might have said this on the last podcast, but I think I'm going to have to think about like how I go about quarterbacks in our league. I feel like it's so tough with only 10 teams. Like you can always get a good quarterback at the end of the draft. Like I think it was Zach that got Burrow pretty late. So obviously that's a huge boost to your team. And Colin, you got Jane Daniels too late in the draft. So I mean, those are both 2 huge steals, but man, like Barrett's team, I mean, he had Lamar as his centerpiece and oh my gosh, like he just never lets you down. He has the ceiling for those big weeks. So I feel like taking a quarterback early is not something I do often, but maybe something I'll consider for next year. But it's always tough to weigh when you can get good quarterbacks late, as we talked about at the beginning of the year, Colin. So I feel like I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but I feel like that's one lesson I learned going throughout this season with our Victor here having a great quarterback like Lamar and me not so much with Kyler.
See, I don't disagree with that, but I also I feel like I would hate myself more if I took a quarterback early and he ended up sucking. Like Mahomes. Mahomes was one of the top quarterbacks this year that went off the board. I don't know what he finished, but I know he didn't do that good. And I think I would hate myself more if I ended up taking a quarterback that early that sucked compared to like feeling good about taking a great quarterback early and him doing well. Obviously, I'm going to be happy about that. But yeah, to your point, like I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with waiting on quarterbacks, but who knows? Maybe I'm just saying that. Maybe the league will think I'm taking a QB late and I'll sneak one in.
Trying to throw one off, yeah.
You kind of need like the right pick, honestly, just because like I feel like, especially this season, I feel like passing, like it may not feel like it, but passing has kind of been down in the league, and it's been a lot more rushing this year, a lot more running in general. And like the top QBs, I feel like take out Joe Burrow and the other top QBs fantasy wise are all like rushing QBs or QBs like Josh Allen who get tons of rushing touchdowns like this season pretty much. And so like I think the key is to find someone who like can still throw the ball very, very well, but also can run and get you some like rushing touchdowns to add on to those points on top of it. But like if it's not there value wise, that like wait and try to get someone like a Jaden Daniels later rounds maybe and hope it pans out. I don't know, but
Definitely.
you can find a lot of good matchups. I feel like week to week too, just working the waiver wires as well.
Anthony Richardson, like round 6 next year is what I'm thinking. QB that can throw the ball and also run for some touchdowns. I like it.
Yeah, actually, can't cancel what I said. I'm taking Jared Goff last round after his superhero run at the end of the year. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's going to be my strategy.
There we go. One thing that I did just think about. So I saw this on Twitter last night, and it was like a thread, and it's like what's like weird like rules in your fantasy league. And they said that instead of Fab, like on the actual app, you use it as like actual cash. So like I was just picturing it, and like I don't think we would ever do this, but like what if we brought our buy-in down? So like what we did like 125, I think this year. What if we brought it down to like 75, and then your Fab, so like each dollar you use is an actual dollar that goes into the pot. I feel like that would stir things up a ton. And like at the beginning of the season, like the Fab, everybody would be like wagering super low. And I don't know. I thought that was an interesting idea. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I kind of like that idea because I guess it kind of puts a lot more like emphasis on how important like the money aspect is, and like you're not just getting people like that are tossing like huge amounts on someone that could be like a game winner, but in a sense like now it has more of like a true meeting where like you don't have to like which this at this point would you have like unlimited technically then, or as much as like
I think you would still be
still at 100 then.
That could be something we could talk about, obviously. But yeah.
I assume no one would probably go over that because, you know, it becomes beneficial to you if you don't win.
Yeah, but I just thought it was kind of interesting, kind of cool.
Yeah, that I don't think I've ever heard that before. That would be pretty interesting. I feel like it would be a disadvantage for me. I feel like I'm someone who always spends all their Fab like early, so my strategy would definitely be thrown off compared to usual. But yeah, that'd definitely be interesting to think about like how strategies would change if you had to actually put in real money instead of just like the fake Fab dollars.
Definitely. Something to consider. We'll see. Or we could also get rid of defenses. I'm all right with that. I know Elgin will be in favor of that.
Dang, man, too early.
Too early. My bad.
Would you anything to replace that or just get rid of it completely?
It's a good question. Probably just get rid of it. I don't know.
I am always on the team of adding more flexes, so I would always vote for that, but I could also see it just not being replaced with anything because, I mean, even like Riley's team, I mean, he had a ton of injuries, but like even a playoff team was struggling to put together like 2 decent flexes during playoff time. So you never really know with injuries how tough that could be having like 3 flexes and then 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. So
definitely. Well, very good. Well, if you want, we can go to our season-long bets real quick. Recap those.
Yeah, let's do it. Barrett, are you sticking around, or are you going to hop off?
I'll probably hop off right here, but I appreciate both of you having me on and everything. And like I said, it's been a great season, and I'm happy to get a dub. And it's been great to be on the pod twice this year too. So hopefully I'll be on more times next year as well.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah. Yeah, congratulations again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. See you, boys.
Yep.
See ya.
All right, Colin, before we get into that, how are you doing tonight, man? We skipped right over that.
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm good, man. I'm I don't know. Into the new year, football's almost over. Kind of sad, but I'm excited for your line. So doing good. And I get to watch the Pistons tonight. Come on.
Yeah, you're talking about this Cavs Thunder nonsense. The real game's in Brooklyn tonight, Pistons Nets. So I'll be ready for that one and on the edge of my seat. But yeah, the Lions are definitely a thing breathing life into me right now with fantasy football being over, which is tough. But it's really weird not having a game this week. I feel like I'm used to it, I guess, like just missing the playoffs and not having a game this week, but never been on the other side of it, having a bye and not having a game this week. So I'm excited. I think we really need it with all the injuries. Maybe we'll get a couple people back, like David Montgomery obviously is supposed to be back, but I'm hoping guys like Terry and Arnold and even some smaller pieces like that we can get back because man, we're playing scraps right now at some of the positions on defense. So we could definitely use it.
Yep. Yeah, if your boy Monty comes back, watch out. I don't know. I mean, they don't even need him. Like Gibbs is insane, but I mean, it's still something different. It's still something you have to kind of game plan for. So I mean, a guy like Monty, you're always pumped to get back. So
yeah, it doesn't hurt. I mean, we got Craig Reynolds taking a bunch of snaps like in his place. I know Gibbs is taking like a bigger share than he was, but definitely having David Montgomery at any point over Craig Reynolds is going to be an upgrade. And I even said, I feel like I was the one that always saying, if we can afford one injury on offense, it's David Montgomery, and that's the one that happened. So I'm still happy to get him back. We're obviously better with him, but I'm not surprised to see the offense weather the storm without him. I feel like he's probably not like he's not valuable. We have so many valuable pieces on offense. He's probably the least valuable just because we have Jahmyr Gibbs. So
absolutely. Well, I guess kind of going into the season long best bets. You mind if I go real quick, because the three I talked about were not good. So I guess I'll go quick. Jerome Ford to finish as the top 15 running back. Yeah, that was horrible. He finished his RB 33. Also, thank you for putting this in, by the way. Tommy went ahead and put these in the notes for me, so I appreciate that. Then I said Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both finished as top 10 wide receivers. Yeah, I mean, you can make an excuse that Tua got injured, but yeah, that was pretty horrible. Finished as wide receiver 18 and 46. And then my boy Anthony Richardson and Kyler Murray to finish as top 3 QBs. I know these were a little bold, but sorry, these are my bold predictions, not my best bet or my bets. But anyways, I said those three would finish, or two would finish as top 3 QBs. QB 10 and QB 25. I know we had some injuries there, but that was pretty poor. So not great there. But how about you? How'd your bold predictions go?
Yeah, I guess just to comment on yours real quick, the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle one and the Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray one, I feel like I was all over those. I thought those were fantastic picks, and then just yikes, dude. Kyler Murray's been burning me all year. My brother keeps making fun of me because on one episode I said, like, I'm gonna be riding Kyler all year. But yeah, for a multitude of reasons, I should not have said that. So that one really sucks. And then the whole Dolphins thing, I mean, even with Tua back, it seemed like they were just like not getting the ball to their best players. I mean, Jonnu Smith apparently is the best tight end to ever play. Every offense he gets in, he just becomes a star player. So that's apparently something I've oversighted in the past. But yeah, both those were brutal. I can't believe those both didn't pan out. And for the Richardson one, you can't really predict him getting benched at some point in the year, so that also didn't help. Yeah. But yeah, I guess for mine on the bad end, the Isaiah Pacheco being a top 3 running back this year, yikes. He finished as the RB 64. I know he missed a lot of time, so maybe that's not super fair to look at, but in points per game, he ranked 44. So not quite close to 3, but a little bit better than 64. The prediction I had that was kind of a hit, kind of a miss, was saying that Taylor and Barkley were both going to finish outside the top 6 for running backs. Barkley finishes to RB2, RB1 overall in points per game. So that one obviously was a miss. I definitely overlooked how if you just put the best running back behind the best line, he's going to produce even if Jalen Hurts is stealing goal line work. Because, I mean, Saquon was ripping off like runs from midfield for touchdowns regularly, it seemed like, for the Eagles. So I feel like that was something I didn't really take into account. I was right about his like goal line usage not being great, but man, it just doesn't even matter when you have a player like that behind such a good offensive line. And then for Jonathan Taylor, if he didn't go on this scorching run at the end of the year, this would have looked like a fantastic take. But he got all the way back up to RB12, and in points per game, he was actually 7th. So he was just outside the top 6, I guess. But he was still a very good player this year. I definitely felt like I was right on the money with why I didn't want to take him. And yeah, if these last 3 weeks didn't happen, this would have been a great take. But good to see for you, at least, that the Colts remembered that they have Jonathan Taylor on their team and just give this guy the ball because he's pretty good at football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But speaking of Colts that are also good at football, Michael Pittman Jr. finishing outside the top 20 wide receivers was basically free. He finished as wide receiver 41, and I had no doubts about this one going into the year. Shout out Josh Downs as well for helping out by taking some targets away. So appreciate you.
Do you remember where he was drafted, Pittman?
In our draft, he went in the 3rd round. Wherever Elgin was picking, that's where he went.
Man, well, great play there. Obviously not what I wanted to see there. But yeah, that's pretty bad then. And it's
I
wide receiver 41.
Yeah, I didn't get the hype on him going into this year. Like a quarterback that is known for his legs and known for being
Yeah.
inaccurate and known for like throwing the ball downfield. I was like, none of this sounds like good for Michael Pittman. I never understood the third round. And I think I don't even know how far he would have had to fall in our draft for me to take him. Like I was a big Debo guy. I know he was awful, but there was no way I was taking Pittman over Debo. And he was my 5th round pick. So I mean, even like McBride in the 6th round, I don't think I was taking Pittman over him. So yeah, I think I was just very out on the hype. And this one actually was maybe one of my picks on the season long that actually panned out. So I can take my quick victory lap here, even though there were a lot of misses.
Absolutely. Well, so I want to talk about Saquon real quick. So I don't know, like it's so easy to look back on it and be like, oh my God, like why did I not think that he would be good? But like I didn't have him in any one of my leagues. Like I didn't draft him, and it's just like why? Like obviously, like we see him and he was insane. And I mean, like yeah, we thought about like Hurts is going to take touchdowns, which he did. Like he took like I want to say like 11, like inside like the 2 yard line, and Saquon maybe had one. Like it was insane, but Saquon still put up these numbers, and it's just like, oh my God, like how do you miss that? And he was going in the maybe probably late. Was he in the 2nd round? Mid to late.
I took one pick after I took Pacheco, so you went 13 in our draft.
Mid. Okay. Yeah, but it's just like, man, looking back at that, it's like, holy moly. But
I gotta say, with Saquon, I'm really not even that mad because, like I said, like he got so many touchdowns taken away, and he didn't get a lot of receptions. I even just pulled this up. He never had a game with more than 4 catches. And he had
Wow.
quite a few with like 0 or 1. So I feel like my analysis is right there. I just overlooked like how many breakaway runs he was going to get on this offense. I feel like that was something I didn't think of, and maybe, like I said, like something to think of for the future. Like it's not just all about like touchdowns and catches. Like I feel like it's super easy to forget about those in between the tackles, yards. But man, if you're able to break them away like he can, and some of these other running backs like Jahmyr Gibbs can, like that's just so valuable to have a running back that can pop off and get like double points for a touchdown if you score from the opposite 40. I mean, you get 6 for the yards and 6 for the touchdown. So if he's doing that every week, every other week, I mean, that's so valuable to have and something that not a lot of other guys do.
Totally. Well, I mean, overall, looking at, I mean, these were definitely bold predictions, and I mean, Pacheco, you almost can't even count since he got hurt. I mean, you did pretty well there. So good work there. And I mean, speaking of Saquon's breaking out like long runs, that's exactly what I anticipated for Breece Hall this year. I don't think we saw any of this. I literally, I think I remember maybe one long run or long catch for a touchdown. But I guess kind of transitioning into the season long best bets. Obviously, I took Breece Hall in our draft, and I was all over him. I was like, he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah, he was horrible. That whole Jets team, terrible. I mean, I guess they haven't announced the Offensive Player of the Year yet, so he still could get it. You never know. I'm not going to check the cash out option because they'd probably ask me for more money. They're definitely not. They're definitely not.
Don't bother. It's unavailable. Don't bother.
Yeah. But that was one of my season long best bets, and then the other. I had Josh Allen over 3750 passing yards, 19 short. I knew in week 7, how many weeks are there now? 18. In week 17, he was 19 yards short, and I was like, that's gonna be it. Week 18, they're like, oh, he's gonna keep the starting streak alive. I think he was projected like 3 points on the fantasy app, and I'm like, oh, maybe he'll play the first drive. Maybe we'll get it. Nope. Takes one snap and doesn't come in. And I was so upset about it, but I was like, why am I even upset about this? I knew this was a loss. Couldn't hedge it or do anything. And yeah, that pretty much summed up my season this year. So it was a tough one to go out on.
Yeah, I think this one was brutal, and like a bunch of people knew that this bet was going on for you when the game started. So we were all ready to reach our hand out in sorrow for that one. I guess I also had it, but I had it at 3,800 somehow instead of 3,750, so I knew mine was never going to hit. But yeah, that one was super brutal. And I think that kind of goes to with what Barrett was saying. Now, passing this year has kind of just been down compared to recent years. He said Burrow, I think, almost had 5,000, and then Goff was second at like 4,500. Like there were not a lot of like high volume passers this year. And looking back, I can't believe Josh Allen played 17 full games and did not hit 3,750 yards. Like that's almost unbelievable that didn't happen. And he's even going to win an MVP or be a runner-up for MVP at the very least. So yeah, I can't believe that one didn't get through.
We'll get them next year. It's all right.
Yeah, we learn and we learn for next year's best bet. So I guess one of mine that didn't hit was Jalen Waddle, who we kind of already talked about, going over 5.5 receiving touchdowns. He had 2 this year. And like I said, going into this year, I think he only had 1 season of his career where he had 6 touchdowns. I was just so in on Jalen Waddle being a huge fantasy asset this year. I think I had him like as a top 10 receiver in my rankings. So like you had that as one of your bold predictions. I was like, I literally think the exact same thing. I have them both ranked inside the top 10, but man, you can't even blame the Tua injury too, because they were so bad with and without him. It seemed like the offense just didn't look like its normal self. So obviously Jalen Waddle didn't get there on his touchdowns. And then the other bet of mine that's not going to hit, I can still cash it out for about 60 cents right now, is Jared Goff to win MVP. Safe to say, I don't think that's going to happen. It was worth $20 at one point on a $5 bet, but now it's 60 cents. I might just let it ride out and see if we can get some late season narrative going for Jared Goff. I'll be the one to start the commotion. Let's get the Jared Goff train rolling, and let's get this cash back on the bet. But the one that I did hit on already has hit was the Chiefs and the Eagles both to win their division parlay, plus 134. I'm kind of mad I didn't put more money on this, honestly. I should have put more than one unit on it. The Chiefs winning their division almost seemed like a lock. And then the Eagles, I was really just worried about the Cowboys, and they completely fell off. It ended up being the Commanders that were the ones kind of chasing them down for it. But the improvement we saw in the Eagles defense over the second half of the year has been crazy, especially when compared to last year. So that's what really sealed the deal for them, it seems like, this year. And hopefully the defense crumbles here come playoff time when they have to go to Detroit.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a great play there. I think I rode that one with you too. But then, I mean, looking back at Jalen Waddle, going back, if I went back to the beginning of the season, I would have taken that bet again. The 5.5 touchdowns, still loved it. Obviously, it was horrible this year with Tua and everything. But loved that bet. And then the Goff MVP bet, you're probably going to lose when you take a bet at plus 3,500. But man, he gave it all. I mean, you can't really ask for much more. Great bet there. And I mean, yeah, you're probably going to lose it, but I would do it again. Great value there. It was worth $5 in my opinion.
I totally agree. I mean, he did exactly what I said he needed to do to win MVP. I said win 14 plus games and be one of the top passers in the league. I believe he's second in passing. He won 15 games, but it just sucks when you have guys like Josh Allen, Lamar putting up like the stats they are without all of the interceptions that Jared Goff has thrown this year. That 5 interception game really did him in, regardless of how bad the interceptions were. You just can't have those numbers up at the end of the year and expect people to vote for you. So I think that was kind of the killer, was the interceptions kind of next to his numbers, because his numbers have been fantastic. But I'm sure a lot of people would also look at the supporting cast and just be like, yeah, his supporting cast is so much better than Josh Allen, so he's going to get it regardless. And at the end of the day, they're both better players than Jared Goff, so can't be too mad.
Hey, and at the end of the day, Jared Goff has bigger dreams than winning the MVP. So
bigger fish.
Exactly. Well, I know we had some other ones on here. I mentioned at the beginning of the year, like I made like a small parlay with like a bunch of guys to go over yards. It included Josh Allen. It had Isaiah Pacheco in it. It had Ladd McConkey. He definitely hit that in receiving yards. Had Tank Dell, and I doubt he hit it, but he was probably close. Maybe I don't think. I'd have to look. He's probably honestly not even close. And then it had Michael Pittman in it too, and that definitely was not close. So that whole parlay was pretty much done by like week 3. So not what we wanted there. And then I don't know, was it me or was it you or maybe both of us that said McBride over 4.5 touchdowns was a good look? I don't know which one of us said that. Obviously he didn't get it.
Hopefully
but, I mean, he had an insane year, man. He had an insane year. Just couldn't get in the end zone much, but I'll be interested to see what his line is next year, because I have a good feeling he'll be scoring a lot more touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think he set the record for most receptions without scoring, like before he actually got in. So I think he got away from it, but like before he scored, I think he did have the record for most receptions before getting a touchdown, which is absolutely crazy, especially for how many catches he had, as well as for just like how good the offense is in general in Arizona. I mean, it's no no slouch of an offense. It's no like Lions or Bills, Ravens offense, but man, they definitely moved the ball well. And especially in a year where he was like the wide receiver one basically for this team, he could never get in the end zone. We might not see something like that for a while.
Definitely. Yeah, and then I'm seeing we also got, I had a Colts over 8.5 wins. That didn't get it done. I actually don't even think I placed this bet. I definitely talked about it and liked it, but they finished with what, 7 wins. I'm trying to remember.
8.
Did they get to 8? Yeah. So that didn't hit. But then we mentioned Packers or Lions to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Obviously that's still in play. I honestly would wonder what it would be now. I don't know. I'll kind of hold off on talking about that because we'll go talk about like some wild card matchups and Super Bowl matchups later. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I think, did you have any other bold predictions or bets that you wanted to talk about, or did that cover it?
That was all I had. I was going to just say, though, Tank Dell did not hit his yards, but he was a little bit closer than I thought. I think he was only like 100, 150-ish away for how bad of a season he had and missing a few games. I couldn't even believe he was that close.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising because he was horrible.
Yeah.
Hey, it's probably my fault. I drafted him. Everybody on my team was. I put a curse on him. So
except JMO. JMO's all good.
J-Mo. Except JMO when I kept him on my bench. Yeah.
Starting lineup JMO was cursed.
Yep. Well, I do want to give a quick shout out to Tommy. He did beat me in our start sit matchups over the course of the year. I don't see, you might have the record. I think he beat me by one or two matchups. So tip the cap to Tommy. Good work. I'm coming back for you next year.
We'll see about that. Yeah, the final tally was 13 and you had 12 for ones. So
okay, all right. Revenge season next year. I don't know if you're talking right now. I'm working off printer Wi-Fi. It keeps freezing on me. But you wanna highlight your best bet, or your not best bets, your bets from week 16 and overall record.
Yep. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, and I heard you. You were like freezing a little bit on my screen, but I think it's all good
I got
now.
you.
So I had 4 bets last week. Unfortunately, did not get back to the even mark. The one that kind of killed me was the Vikings -3 against Seattle. They won by 3, so the bet pushed, and it didn't get me over the edge, so that one kind of stunk. But the one that actually lost, though, that I thought was going to smash was the Buccaneers -3 against Dallas. I feel like Buccaneers weren't coming up as much for me at the end of the year, which was kind of tough to see. They lost this one outright to Dallas, I believe, so tough look there. We did have 2 wins, though, which got us pretty close to the even mark on the year, only down about 0.6 units. We have the Rams -3 against the Jets, and I think they won that one pretty handily, even though it was a while ago. And then the Bengals -6.5 against the Browns. I know they won that one handily. I can remember that one. So, yeah, betting against Dorian Thompson-Robinson, always the move, and that's, I think, the lesson I learned from this week.
Absolutely. Hey, you went out 2-1-1 in the last week, and couldn't quite get back to the even mark, but I'd say that was a pretty good year. And I know I tailed you on all those last week bets. So thank you for making some money from me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we got you a little bit. And yeah, I'm not too mad after. I think I was down almost 10 units at one point, so it was nice to get on a little run at the end of the year for sure.
Absolutely. I wish I could say the same, but I did not go on any run this year. I'm not gonna. I don't exactly know what I was down. It was over 10 units, I believe. But to end the year, spun the wheel. We had the San Francisco Miami under 44.5. That one did not hit. They went over by, I'm trying to remember, I think like 6 points, maybe even more. But then had the Rams Jets under 46, and I know that one hit by a while, or by a lot. So that was the no sweat one. End the year 1-1, and overall down good amount of units. So we'll leave it at that. Next year's our year.
Yes, for sure.
Oh man. Alrighty. Well, I guess you want to talk about this wild card weekend coming up. Got some good matchups, I would say. Some decent ones. Some spreads are pretty big, but we do have a few good close matchups.
Yeah, I think I guess I can do it like sort of like a best bet segment. I do have 2 bets that I've made for wild card weekend that I'd say like are more of my best bets. I'm going to start with, and it hates me to pains me to say this because I want them to lose, even though they're not as good as the Eagles. But I really love the Packers plus 4.5 against the Eagles. I know it's on the road, and I know the Eagles are a good team, but I'm just always going to bet on the NFC North when they're playing against a non-NFC North team after what they've shown all year. I feel like the Packers are not maybe ending the year on the best note, but we saw what they did last year against the Cowboys in the first round. So I know they're very much capable of having those good playoff games, even with Jordan Love, who doesn't have a lot of experience. But if you're going to give me 4.5 points for an NFC North team against a non-NFC North team, I'm hammering that 100 times out of 100 times. So give me the Packers plus 4.5, even though I can definitely see the Eagles winning this one. They're definitely the better team. But if the Packers are going to be an underdog, I have no problem taking their spread as an underdog.
Dude, I was hoping you said that. I love that. And I mean, the Packers I talked pretty highly on throughout the year. I love them. I mean, the Eagles are scary. They have been pretty insane, and like you've mentioned, the Packers haven't been too great to end the year. But yeah, like I said, like at the beginning of the year, I was even talking about like maybe Packers Super Bowl appearance or something like that. But yeah, I absolutely love that pick. Speaking about your division, what do you think about, maybe this was part of your next best bet, the Vikings only being, what are they, a 1.5 favorite on the road in LA?
Yeah, that actually isn't one of my other best bets. I think for this one, I'm a little concerned because the quarterback discrepancy is just so large. I know Sam Darnold's had a very good year, but I have a hard time betting on him against Matthew Stafford because I could just see this offense really having their way with the Vikings defense, which not a lot of people do. And if that's the case, I don't know how the Vikings are going to put up enough points to stay with them. And the Rams also have a couple good players on defense. They got Kobe Turner, rookie Jared Verse. Like, they've definitely got a very solid pass. As we saw against Detroit, when you bring pressure against him and he doesn't have wide open guys, he really struggles and misses his targets. So I think we could see something similar from the Rams, which I think is why I'm a little hesitant to bet on them. But according to the logic I was just spewing for the last 2 minutes on the Packers, probably Vikings would be the way that I would lean in this one.
Yeah, I got you. Like, looking at it, like, it's like, okay, Vikings won 14 games this year, Rams 10. Like, you look, like, my first instinct was like, man, Vikings are only like a 1.5 favorite. But then I'm looking and it's like, okay, they're on the road, and like, to your point, it's like, it is Sam Darnold. When it comes down to the end of it, or end of the day, I don't know if I can trust it or trust him. And then I was also thinking, it's like, okay, if I made the spread, like, what would I do it? I don't know, maybe -2.5 for the Vikings, but if it was more than 3, it's like, man, I would really consider taking the Rams. I don't think I've got a bet on this one. I don't know. It's the only game on Monday night, so knowing me, I'll probably bet aside, but we'll see there.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't really thought about putting anything down for that one, and I maybe shouldn't have put anything down for the Packers because I know both quarterbacks are questionable right now, which I didn't say when I was going over it, but I guess I'm just expecting both them to play. It seemed like they both should be good to come back, so I'm really just expecting both quarterbacks to be in there. But as for Vikings Rams, yeah, like I said, I think I'm staying away from that one because I really could see that one going either way, even though I keep saying like the NFC North is such a better division and they can beat whoever, but in LA with that much of a quarterback discrepancy and a defense that can really put some pressure on Sam Darnold, I think I got to stay away from Minnesota, but I'm not by no means betting against them.
Totally agree. I got you. But now back to Packers Eagles. Both those guys are playing, man. They're both dogs. They ain't missing the first playoff game. They'll be good.
That's kind of what my logic was. It'll really suck if Hurts plays and Love sits out because the Eagles are going to be, I don't even know, like 14-point favorites. So we'll see, but yeah, maybe I'll double down and take them plus 10.5 when Malik Willis is announced as a starter.
There you go. If it was Anthony Richardson, then I'd be seriously concerned if him not playing. But nah, they'll both play. I got confidence in them going.
I agree.
Well, you said you had 2 best bets you already made. Do you have?
I guess. Maybe I'll say real quick, because it has to do with all the AFC games, but this last NFC one, who do you think, Bucks or Commanders? I could see this one going either way too.
Dude, Commanders being +3, I kind of feel like I got to take that. I mean, the Commanders haven't been great recently, and I mean, Baker's looking pretty good. But I don't know. I think it's more of a bias and just getting that 3-point cushion. You think about it, it's like, okay, on a neutral field, they're probably evenly matched, and it'd probably be a pick 'em. But I don't know, getting the +3, and I've loved Jaden Daniels all year. Obviously, love Terry McLaurin, and their offense is pretty sweet. So I could definitely see this game going pretty high. But if I had to lean aside, I would say Commanders +3.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know, I guess, what the over-under is. I think I could really see this one going both ways. If I had to bet on one, which this might be a game I stay away from as well, because I could really see either team taking it and like also taking it in a close game or more of a not a blowout, but like a bigger spread or whatever. But I think I like the Bucks just to win it in general. I feel like I have a hard time betting on like a rookie quarterback in the playoffs. So that's really all I'm going off of. But I think the Commanders have a good team. They're much improved on defense compared to what we saw last year. So it would not shock me at all if we played them. I will say, though, as a Lions fan, I'm kind of scared to play the Commanders, even though they might be the worst team in the field. I think Jaden Daniels will have his way with this defense. So we'll need like a spectacular Goff performance to get past them when some of these other teams, our defense might be able to contain them a little bit better.
Fair enough. I will say we did see a rookie quarterback last year, and his name is CJ Stroud, and he beat up the Browns. So never know, man. Rookie QBs could get it done.
Well, we got not a Browns team in the way, so that might be a little bit of a tough matchup. So
hey, Baker's got tied, or Baker has ties to the Browns.
Yeah, you can take Baker out of Cleveland, but you can't take the Cleveland out of Baker. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess you were asking though about my other best bet. So I parlayed like 3 spreads for the AFC games. I think I like these a lot better. So I went ahead and made a little bit of a parlay. We'll see if this works out, but I really like Chargers money line. And I think I didn't really want to bet it straight because it's like -160 at this point or so. I am a little scared though, because I think everyone's on the Chargers. So that makes me think the Texans are going to find a way to pull this one out because Vegas is going to have their way. So that one is making me a little nervous because of that. But the other two are just the Ravens and the Bills, both to win by 5.5 or more. I'm done with 6.5s. They've been killing me. The overtimes keep getting the best of me, and teams win by 6. So I'm done. I'm going to 5.5s. I think the Bills are literally going to destroy the Broncos. I don't think this one's going to be close at all. So this is not the leg I'm really concerned about, knock on wood, I guess. But the one I am a little bit concerned about, I guess, is the Ravens, because the Steelers always just seem to have play their best football against the Ravens. But I just think Lamar and them are going to be ready to play. The Steelers have lost 4 in a row. They look awful. I don't even know who they're going to play at quarterback this upcoming week. So that's why I'm on Ravens -5.5 as well. So to sum it all up, I got Chargers money line, Ravens 5.5, Bills 5.5 parlayed. That would be my other best bet so far.
Dude, couldn't agree more. And I'll kind of tie it all together here in a few. But starting with the Chargers Texans, it almost seems like a trap. It's like the Texans just do not look good. Chargers, they've been able to get the job done against pretty good teams. They're kind of clicking right now. Harbaugh's proven to be a pretty good NFL coach. But yeah, it's like, okay, only 2.5. They're on the road. What does that mean? And like, do the Texans somehow like magically find their offense? Does CJ Stroud come back to form? I don't know. If I had to bet it right now, I would definitely take the Chargers -2.5. But for now, kind of staying away from it. Back to the Bills Broncos. Couldn't agree more. I think the Bills are going to destroy them. Same with the Ravens. I could see them winning by like 21. It does scare me a little bit, just like you mentioned. It's like it is the Steelers. It's a divisional matchup. They play each other a lot, and you never know. But tying it all together, I have not pulled the trigger yet, but I was looking at it and I was texting with my dad earlier. I was taking the Ravens money line, Bills money line, and then I know it's not NFL, OSU, Buckeyes money line. All 3 of them are +110. And I was like, okay, that's 3 games that you need to predict correctly, but I just don't see any of them losing. We'll talk about Ohio State because that's not NFL, but they're gonna blow the crap out of Texas. But yeah, back to the Ravens. I'm not worried about the Bills. So that'll probably be the one that loses. But yeah, the Steelers, I don't know, man. They've been horrible. So I don't know. Kioski's probably got something to say about that, but I like overall. I guess I'm saying I love your parlay.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it pans out here, and I really like that 3 money line parlay. I feel like those all 3. I mean, should probably happen. And you're getting it at plus odds. So I might have to tail you and Craig on that one. I think I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna do it. My what I'm hesitant about is how much. I was either gonna go like 50 or $100 and just make a big play on it and make that one of my only bets this week. But I don't know. Haven't pulled the trigger yet, so we'll see there. But I don't have any other best bets yet. I'm sure I will, but I think we pretty much touched on every wild card game, didn't we?
Yeah, I will say though, any predictions for the Super Bowl? Who do you think is going to come out of each side, and who do you think is going to take it?
So NFC, I'm rocking with you boys. I think the Lions got this. I am somewhat concerned about the winner of the Eagles and Packers. Either one of those, whoever wins, I think is a serious contender with the Lions. Like I mentioned, I have liked the Packers this year, but dude, the Lions offense is just too good. Their defense is good. Like you mentioned earlier, the bye week hopefully get some guys healthy, but overall just get some guys rested because they've been balling out, and I think the rest will do them well. And did you say they'd probably play the Commanders or Bucks, whoever wins that game?
They will play. So if the Packers win, they play the Packers.
They play the Packers game.
They get like whoever's the lowest seed.
Right.
It has to
Okay,
be the
right.
Vikings, Commanders, or Packers. So I guess it could be the Rams too. So, I
Okay.
mean, there's a lot of different teams we could end up playing, but probably if the Packers or Commanders win, it's going to be one of them.
I gotcha. Yeah, I'd be a little concerned if it's the Packers. But I'm rocking with the Lions on that side, and then the AFC. I can't really make up my mind, dude. The Chiefs, it's like they just find ways to win, and it's like, can I bet against Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. And then the Bills and Ravens, man, they've been good, and I can't make up my mind on it. I don't know. Do you have any opinion on the AFC?
I will say this real quick. NFC, I am actually rocking with the Lions with my head and my heart. I just don't think any of these teams are like juggernauts or teams that we can't handle. Every game's at home. We have a bye. Hopefully get a few people back. I feel like the situation for the NFC is just really good for the Lions, and we'll see if we can get some good matchups. Like I said, the Commanders scare me a little bit, but definitely not a team that we can't beat. As for the AFC, I am kind of struggling. I really don't think the Chiefs are going to make it out, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I could even see the Chargers beating them. I'm not saying they are, but they've played them really well twice this year, I believe. So, I mean, with the team with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, like, it's hard to really count them out. So I could even see that being a tough first game if that's their draw, which it likely will be. And then as for like whoever's going to come out, I'm really struggling with this like hypothetical Ravens-Bills matchup. I think whoever wins that game is going to win the Super Bowl. I just think the Lions are going to have a hard time. I mean, we saw how hard of a time they had trying to bring Josh Allen down in the pocket when they played him. Bill scored 48 points on him. The Ravens beat us last year, I want to say 38-7. It was the same exact problem. We couldn't bring down Lamar Jackson, and we're still banged up. I know we're improved on defense overall, but a lot of injuries don't give me a whole lot of optimism. So I'm really hoping we play the Chiefs or the Chargers or any other team basically that doesn't have Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen on it, because they're so good in the pocket and running out of the pocket especially. Shout out to Mahomes too. He's good at it, but he doesn't have the speed and power like that. So I would be terrified to play either of those teams. And I think if they get the Lions, it's going to be a great draw for them.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go out and say this right now, no bias. Well, I guess there is some bias. If I had to pick a Super Bowl winner right now, it'd be the Lions. So there we go. Love it. I don't know.
I want to get there. I just think the Bills and Ravens are going to be brutal matchups if that's who we have. So there are some teams over there. Like I said, I could see the Chargers going on a run as well. So I think them or the Chiefs would be great matchups if we could get it. But I mean, with this coaching staff, I mean, I can't even say that we're dead if we see the Bills or the Ravens, because I mean, they just held the Vikings to 9 points, which is absolutely incredible, and I didn't expect it. So shout out to the coaches in Detroit. Hopefully they can keep the train rolling no matter what's thrown our way.
Definitely. So here's a question for you. So like, I know you can't really compare it to like college, but like right now it's like, okay, Ohio State's like odds on favorite. They might even be like minus like 120 to win the national championship now. And it's kind of like win or it's not a good season. What are you happy with? I mean, obviously you're going to be upset with with not winning the Super Bowl, but like if they, well, I guess what do you okay with? Like, what would you be comfortable with? I guess.
No, that's
For
a great
the
question. I think for me, making the Super Bowl would make it a winning season because I think every team. I know, like, if you ask Dan Campbell, he'd say you got to win the Super Bowl for it to be a great season. Just making, I mean, obviously, I would want to make to win it if we made it there, but it's something that this team's never done in their history for the last whatever, almost 60 years now. They haven't made it to a Super Bowl. And I think just the competition in the AFC, there's a lot tougher teams you got to go through. So I think for us, like, we got to make it through the NFC. We got to get revenge on the NFC Championship game from last year. So I think as long as we make it to the Super Bowl, I would say this season was definitely an A+, even if we can't drag it all the way across the finish line. I think that's probably what I'd say.
I got you. No, that makes sense, honestly. Well, I'm certainly rooting for you. I'm rooting for the boys from Detroit. So
Breach.
wish you the best of luck. Well, with that being said, I don't really have much else. You have anything else you wanted to cover?
I don't think so. Shout out to everyone who's been listening throughout the season. Been super fun. Hopefully we can bring it back to you next year. I know I had a good time doing it. I'm sure Colin did too. So yeah, thanks again, everyone, for listening to any of these podcasts along the way.
Yeah, I appreciate the Shovel Mitch League, and another big shout out to Tommy. He's been editing most of these videos, so he's done a great job, phenomenal job. And then shout out to Laura Fuller. She's been a huge fan as well. So looking forward to next season. hopefully getting a Lions win, and we'll hopefully be back next season for some more podcasts. So thank you very much.